I admire you for joining today. And thank you for helping us all stay accountable, to come, to slow down, to arrive in the moment. Feel free to come and go if you need to. I know you're at work. And I'm really thankful that you're here. I hope that you enjoy today's practice, which I'm calling our peak performance meditation. For those of you who are in your office, if you're not in a home office and you're actually at the office, you may need to stay in your desk chair, and that's totally fine. In that case, as you get set up for practice today, let's undo how I just was. You'll notice I was leaning forward. You might be doing the same over your computer. Well, sit up really tall. And if there's a back on your chair, slide to the very back of your chair. Align your spine up the back of the chair for support. It will help you stay really confident and long in your spine. If you're home, or even if you're in the office and you don't mind, you can move to a comfortable spot for you. It could be anywhere. You can sit against a wall on the floor. I like a cushion in the middle of the floor. And I practice this so that I can work on building up the muscles along my spine. You don't have to be wearing anything in particular. You can come as you are at any time. But comfort is key so that you feel that you can stay in the practice. You're not feeling uncomfortable. So you may be able to slip your shoes off your feet. If you're sitting in a chair, I really love that. I'll take my shoes off and ground my feet flat on the floor. We're looking for a sense of grounding, drawing energy up from Mother Earth to help us feel our best selves today. And when you have arrived in your comfy spot, know that this is not permanent. If you get uncomfortable, make a change. Move around a little bit and come back to our practice when you can. If it feels good in your body, take some micro movements, intuitively knowing where you need to maybe sit a little bigger, open your body a bit more, maybe roll out a kink or two. And ideally, we'll lengthen our spine with a beautiful in-breath. Think about sitting tall, but not feeling rigid or stiff in the way we're sitting. Tuck your chin back just a little bit. And do you feel the back of your neck growing longer that way? Let's make sure our chins are feeling either parallel to the floor or even tucked a little down. And once you've settled into a comfortable body shape, we'll encourage our eyes to look down, not to a notebook or a cell phone, something that's boring and plain that will not drag your attention away from practice. You can also slip your eyes completely closed so that the distractions are minimized and we feel that we're able to drop in to practice today. I don't love to close my eyes completely, so I look down to the floor. But then I close my eyes to little slits, kind of like I'm looking through my eyelashes and things look really blurry and unfocused. That's my favorite place to land. And it helps me move away from the outside world. Coming to our breath, arriving in the practice with a gift to ourselves. Take a big breath in through your nose. If you're stuffy, you can breathe through your mouth. If possible, using our nostrils here. And as you exhale, try a big sigh out your mouth. If you're not at work, make it audible. It might sound like this. You can do it at work too. People will be like, what's going on over there? That sounds relaxing. Maybe they'll join us. Inhale through your nose. Open mouth exhalation. One more round like that. And if there's a reason you're here today, if you have an intention for your practice, breathe in. My intention is, unless I'm grumpy and I need to fix my mood, my intention is usually the same at every practice. I always ask myself to try to be present with every single breath that I take, to move away from everything that brought me up to this point today and just take this time to settle, knowing that it'll all be waiting for me when I'm done. So my intention, I'd like to invite you to make one of your own or join me in mine, is be present with every breath in this practice. And when I bring that intention in, I really see it, I feel it, I send it with my in breath all the way through the body. And it's nice to be generous with this practice and intention. You're going to send your good energy out into the world later, but I like to send that intention back out as if I could send it into those that are around me, maybe even outside the walls around you, out into the world, your community. A little take, a little give there. Feels good. So we know that our breath provides us with oxygen that we require to function optimally. However, since this process occurs, thankfully it occurs quite naturally on its own, sometimes or quite often we forget to offer it the appreciation and the tenderness it deserves. So let's take a moment just to fill up with some gratitude that we awoke with the gift of breath today, that we have this opportunity to practice together. And as we enhance our awareness of the breath, we hopefully discover not only how it just nourishes our physical body, but mindful breathing can help us soothe and heal our emotional bodies, our mental spaces, and our spiritual bodies as well, even if we don't feel too in touch with our spiritual side. Coming with an open mind to practice, to meditation, you never know what can happen. Connecting with our breath will enable us today and every day that we practice to reduce our stress level. It will positively impact our mood, our thoughts. Sometimes we need to practice because we're just feeling quite down in the dumps. And we don't have expectations that we're going to leave practice sunshine and rainbows. But I do think that with a settling and a dropping in, we can soften the edges a little. So we're looking for peak performance today, or at least just a little better leaving the practice than when we arrive. Breath focus will help us boost our brain power. And even a practice at this time of the day will enhance our quality of sleep this evening. This practice solely requires us to come, to arrive. Hard work is over. You've done that and you're here. All we need to do is have this open, broad sense of attention to the breath exactly as it is. We're not going to try to force anything or change anything today. Let's notice the presence of the room around us. For example, you might be noticing temperature or quality of air. If you're outside, it's going to feel pretty sticky and muggy versus a cool air-conditioned space. How does exposed skin feel different than covered skin? How does something against a surface or a cushion feel as opposed to what is floating free? What does the floor or the earth feel like beneath your feet or your resting body? And we're here to notice little tricks to move us away from all of the stimulation in the world. And then let's draw our attention to the natural rhythm of our breath. Today, we're not going to practice controlling the breath in any way. We are simply here to observe it, how it moves in this present moment. So for example, you might just gently take some time to count your breath to determine what the pace of your breath is. I like to observe the depth or the lack thereof of my breath. So this morning, I can feel my breath moving into my stomach. I can notice that opening, that moving forward, and that falling, that coming in of my breath. Maybe you feel a lift of your chest or shoulders, or just simply noticing a cooler inflow of air and a warmer outflow. However it is, it's perfectly perfect, just as it is. Simply holding our focus on our breath. And then my favorite place to rest for a brief moment, the space that's between our breaths. Oh, it's a wonderful place. There is this moment, perfect stillness and silence in between your in and out breaths, and then again between your out and in breaths. And I like to try to capture that, imprint it in my memory, how I've felt. Sometimes I almost feel like I'm just suspended in space in that moment. And don't worry if you can't discover that today. That's why we call this a practice. Some days we feel that we accomplish a lot in practice, and other days, even if we're restless, there's no judgment or criticism. There's no stories attached to what's happening. Just proud of ourselves for showing up. And just gently come to full body breathing. Allow it to move your body if it does as you inhale and exhale. I like to envision a jellyfish. I know that can be quite creepy, but if you aren't near it, let's say you're watching how a jellyfish might move on like a nature channel. It's beautiful how it fills up and then subsides. So it gets really big. And I like to envision my body moving like this and then narrows, it softens, it contracts. That's just an example of a visual that you may see the way your breath moves. If you feel it, just be with how the body's moving today. The whole body filling with breath as you inhale. Your whole body releasing as you exhale. Let's continue seeing and feeling the way our breath is moving our bodies today, just for a few more. And it's okay if the second that I go quiet, you feel like you get scattered or distracted. Just come back, guide yourself like you would a small child. You need to guide them away, to redirect. That's what we do with ourselves, with as much gentleness and kindness as you would that small child. Come back to your full body breathing. I'm still with you, but we're going to try that for 3 breaths. However those 3 breaths move you, be with that process. Perhaps noticing expansion outward, settling inwards. And then with your next exhale, allow yourself to settle into stillness for just a moment. Try to find a place for your head that feels like it's suspended quite naturally, softly, with no effort, over your tailbone. Shoulders heavy and release. We just pause in this stillness for a moment. And resume normal breathing, however your body moves. So we'll integrate this meditation practice into our day. If you remember, During a transition time today, whether it's getting from work into your car to commute home, before you get out of your car to walk through your home doorway, just before going to bed, just promise yourself that you'll try that one more time. Pause, take a whole body breath. It might take all of 30 seconds max to do this. Observe where the breath moved. See if you can find that moment of stillness before you exhale. And just settle for that brief moment, carrying on with a greater sense of connection. You might even find that you move a bit more fluidly throughout whatever you were about to do once you've connected to your breath. We're coming back to that easy flow, that steady in and out. And as you're breathing, you might notice some obstructions. Perhaps your breath is getting deeper or slower. It's reaching new areas now that you've really connected to it. And in that process, you notice that you feel quite stuck somewhere, or perhaps the breath, the energy won't move through a certain space in your body. And that might need a little adjustment. Maybe we kind of wiggle around for a moment and see if we can't open up that spot. And if there is just some tightness there, whether it be something in your heart or your mind or your physical body, we'll just try to hold that spot in our awareness for a few more breaths. Let's breathe directly into that area, focusing your attention on anything that is yearning for support. Maybe it needs a little guidance to release. So I like to envision those areas in my mind, my heart, my physical body as a really tight ball of yarn. It's all like tightly put together in this perfect little ball. And as I saturate that tight spot with breath, it starts to get to a looser ball, and then it starts to unravel. And you know how soft yarn is sometimes? So it unravels to this like soft pile, a releasing, unraveling. It might take a few rounds of breath to help those spaces in your body start to relax. And it may not even happen in today's practice. You're offering it the opportunity, but there's no pressure. Let your next inhalation be as long as you can gently and comfortably allow it to be. And as you breathe in, imagine this radiant white light coming down and entering your body through your nostrils, moving towards that place that's calling for your attention. And if you didn't find a specific spot today that needs some TLC, it's okay. Make the breath flood your whole body with that radiant white light. Well, let's hold this nourishing light on any tense spots just for a second. And then as you exhale, envision sinking a bit more deeply or the tension to release with that breath. We might have to repeat this many times. This healing energy in and this release of what we no longer need until a tightness or discomfort is lessened or it has dispersed altogether. And if there's something else that's also bothering you, of course you can repeat that exercise as often as you need. We envision a pure white light, a healing light. Maybe it fills our lungs. We see it past the nostrils this time. And moving towards an area of tension. As you exhale, it carries it away for you. And when you're finished with that exercise of nurturing and taking good care of yourself, just make note of what is present for you in this moment. Hold your whole body in your awareness and notice, were there any shifts? Now, this mindful breathing is easier. I don't ever want to say it's an easy practice, but it's easier to practice when we come together like this. We have a specific moment on our calendar that we're going to work together. And I prefer the guided approach. So I'm guiding you on how to practice, but believe in your ability to practice this in unconventional settings as well. In other words, this practice, this holding ourselves, taking care of ourselves, checking in, is not reserved for solitude or for a guided meditation practice. We can practice this while we're riding a bus, if we're waiting in line at a grocery store, while we're exercising, or right before we drift off to sleep. In essence, anytime. Those are just a few examples. In any settings, whether we have 30 seconds or 30 minutes like we did today. So let's take a little visualization journey to finish up. Let's envision the rest of our day. Literally think about what you're going back to after this, what happens at lunch, after lunch, before your workday ends, afterwards, family, friends, whatever your whole day until you drift off to sleep entails. Okay, so you have your agenda. Now re-envision all of it, moving through it all with this newfound sense of presence, of connection to breath, body, and spirit, hopefully a sense of grace and ease, and see or feel yourself bringing yourself to each moment completely. So we don't feel scattered. We aren't doing 6 tasks at once. Sometimes that sounds like it's really efficient, that multitasking, but we're not giving our full attention to anything. So we'll try to really give everything we have in each moment to whatever we're immersing ourselves in. Each interaction, each conversation, each challenge. Inevitably, as our best selves, we're still going to face challenge. So what do those details look like to you, and how could they feel different, dare I say better, if we bring this sense of to each moment? Can you make those instances that you're thinking of more impactful, more important, just by giving your undivided attention to it? It could be something as simple as doing the dishes. I notice when I bring my full attention, my breath practice to whatever I'm doing, I'm less clumsy. I'm not banging things around or making a mess as much because I'm really present. There's no throwaway moments in our lives, no matter how insignificant a task or a moment may be. How do you want to bring yourself to that situation? The coolest thing is that it's up to us. We can change this mental landscape to do something that we're not thrilled about, but to do it with this sense of grace and ease. Just like you showed up today and brought yourself fully to your meditation practice, you'll get out of whatever you're working on exactly what you put in. So if we put in love, tenderness, caring, and compassion, we'll bring that back out. It's worth the effort. Capturing that moment of mindfulness. To find more energy, we use less and find more. To find a moment of wonder and joy in simple things. And as you did your little agenda, your mental agenda for the rest of today, if there was something that made you anxious as soon as you thought about it, just as an example, commuting these days, the traffic is terrible. So that gives you a sense of anxiety, whatever it is, for any reason, anything that bothers you or feels like a trigger to you. Settle on that for just a moment. Whether or not it can happen or it has happened to you in the past, envision yourself moving through that challenge with intention and positivity. Because we know that where our attention goes, our energy flows. So perhaps we breathe mindfully through this scenario, kind of like you're flushing it out with a new sense, a new way to look at it, to feel about it, to anticipate it. Try that one more time. Breathe this sense of ease into that upcoming situation. And then just return back to your body, your breath, allowing any images that you may have conjured up to fade away. And before we come back to our day, let's just gently move our bodies. Perhaps it's a different way than we started with, but maybe you were sitting up really tall without the use of a chair back and you feel a little tight and stiff. We're working on building up those muscles. It might be nice to sway a little through your back body, a little side to side. Perhaps wiggle, if your toes are free, wiggle those. Wiggle your fingers if they're free. Roll your shoulders back and down. Maybe look side to side and loosen up your neck. And then we'll slowly re-enter the world by fluttering our eyelids open. I like to take a few flutters. Sometimes it's kind of bright and in your face when you first come back. And bring your eyes gently forward to everything that you have ahead of you today. Let's meet our hands either in a prayer at heart center or covering our heart. I like to drop my chin back down for this last breath together and ask myself if I think I can carry this sense of awareness with me as I move throughout the rest of my day. Friends, my soul honors your soul. I honor the love, the light, and the beauty, the truth, and the kindness that is within you because it is also within me. In sharing these things, there's no difference. There's no distance between us. We are the same and we are one. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today.